Welcome to Based on a Book, the podcast that accepts unconventional heroes of all shapes and sizes. I'm Keri, here to remind you that no story is ever as simple as it seems.
I'm Lindsey, and if embracing your inner monster is wrong, I don't want to be right.
I'm Crystal, and I am not a monster.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for season 4 of the podcast and our very first time selecting a title submitted by a listener, which is super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't already know, we have been asking our listeners to submit titles to us to cover on the podcast. And now for February in 2026, for anyone listening in the future, we selected a few from that list. And I picked the graphic novel Nimona by ND Stevenson, our first time covering a graphic novel on the podcast. In its 2023 animated film adaptation. I'm curious what both of your guys' experiences reading graphic novels. Lindsey, you've talked about web comics a lot, right, on the podcast.
I have, yeah. I've actually read quite a few graphic novels, not so much recently. I read a lot more probably back in high school. A lot of the Marvel Zombies, Evil Dead, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, like a lot of those. But nothing new, so if I can get any recommendations, I'm open.
What about you, Crystal?
I've read a few. I feel like I tend to get, like, I'll read the popular ones once they're popular. You know, I read The Watchmen, I read Umbrella Academy, stuff like that. I grew up kind of adjacent to a lot of comic book nerds, and so sometimes they'll like push a graphic novel on me because they know I'm not going to read a whole series of comics. I don't like how they're all interconnected, and I feel like I have to read all of the entire universe in order to get the whole storyline. And I feel like, at least with graphic novels, I have one book, maybe a series of just a few instead of like hundreds. So I really enjoy them.
When it comes to like a comic series, I get like immediately overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I like when they have like a good bind up or something. I forget what those are called, but like a good bind up of like all of them together for like different volumes. It feels a little less overwhelming. But my experience with graphic novels is like pretty new-ish. Like I never really thought to pick them up. And I think there was like the Saga series. Everyone's like, you gotta read the Saga series. It's really good. And I was like, I don't know about this. Tried it and I loved it. And I tried Lore Olympus, like super popular ones, and Heartstopper, really loved it. Fangs, one of my all-time favorites. I read that like once every year. Love that story. So I'm very new to it, but have been like enjoying like a few. There's a couple that I really love. So this recommendation was actually sent to us by Ro, who said, "This is so good. This is a webcomic to graphic novel to movie adaptation with a totally different plot. I loved it. Queer Bible." So thank you, Ro, for sending this to us. Nimona is a sci-fi fantasy action adventure story about a mischievous young shapeshifter who loves all things villainy and how this shapeshifter becomes a sidekick to a villain who wants to clear his name. They go on missions together to prove who the real villain is and cause havoc in this kingdom. Before we get into spoilers and breaking down the plot, themes, and what changed between the graphic novel and the adaptation, let's talk about book ratings. I want to start with Crystal. Your book rating, just graphic novel.
5 stars.
Yeah.
5 stars, no notes. I absolutely loved this. The plot was interesting and compelling. The characters were layered and nuanced, multidimensional. You got to know them. They did expected and unexpected things. You loved them and hated them. There were, I don't want to say twists, but there were definitely like turns that you had to really kind of put together to follow along. It felt like you were on this journey of discovery and uncovering the truth along with them. The pacing was perfection. Even when like the main storyline slowed down just a little bit, there would be like a side storyline that would be exciting and kind of have your heart racing. The humor, the science, just 5 stars. That's it. I love this.
What about you, Lindsay?
I agree with Crystal. I gave this one 5 whales.
Aww.
Yeah, there you go. I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was cute, heartfelt, emotional, hilarious. I loved everything. The story, the artwork, all of it.
Yeah, I'm same. I gave it 5 swords. I think graphic novels, I think they're pretty easy for me to rate because I don't have like a ton of experience with them. So if it's like I'm having a really good time, the story is super intriguing. Like there were like twists in this, like that I didn't really see coming. And I was laughing out loud. I was literally cracking up out loud at things that were happening in this graphic novel, like immediately just a couple pages in. And like the humor was just right up my alley. So it was an easy 5 star for me. I also listened to the audiobook, which, if you haven't listened to it, it is honestly incredible. It is basically like a graphic novel or a graphic audio book where there's a ton of different sound effects in the background, has a full cast. It is such a fun listen. I'm not sure how well it would do if you hadn't already read the graphic novel before you listened to it. But
I listened to the audio before I started reading. Like I had it at home. I knew I was going to read it. That wasn't that, so, but you had said that it was really good and that you thought my kid might like it. So when I had a drive, it's only like 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2.5 hours, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a little over an hour drive the other night. And so I threw it on and I was shocked at how easy it was for me to understand what was happening because graphic novels are so visually intense. Like that's a huge part of the story. I wasn't sure that they would be able to pull that off. And I was shocked at how well I followed it, how well my son followed it. He loved it, and asked me to turn it back on when we got in the car for the ride home, So it was really good. Of course, coming home and seeing the pictures and then like picking up the book and kind of starting to read it. Some of the print is really small in this, and I'm 44 years old with not the world's greatest eyes. So I turned the audio back on to read along so that I wouldn't have
fun.
reading this book. But I was shocked at how well the audio is to follow along with, considering the visual medium.
Yeah, I agree. It was really fun to listen. Did you listen to it, Lindsay?
I did not. I just read this one.
Yeah, you got to listen to it. I think you're going to really love it. It's super fun. And it's just like, you can just see it. It's so easy to visualize whenever you're listening to it. And it's super, just like something fun to have on in the background. So now we're just going to get into our book and adaptation breakdown. So this is your warning as we are about to dive into spoilers of both the book and the adaptation. So if you have not read or watched it, please go do that because it is totally worth it. Then come back and join the chaotic fun as we start with a bit of a book breakdown first. Because there's very different, comparing a graphic novel to an animated film, and there's also a lot of differences. Kind of want to break down the book a little bit first. As I said before, this graphic novel is by ND Stevenson, who started developing this character in high school and continued to develop the story throughout his college career. Eventually, he published the story as a webcomic, and then HarperCollins picked it up to be released in print. So this character has been with them for a very long time. The story is pretty fast-paced, in my opinion. Really funny. You can get into it immediately. What was your guys' initial thoughts when you first started it? What about you, Lindsay?
I immediately was like, oh man, I've read this before.
I remember you saying that.
I started to read it, and I guess it was so long ago that I really didn't remember specifics, but I got to one specific scene in the graphic novel, and I was like, oh no, wait, I do remember this. And it was really early on, but I can't remember exactly what was said, but Nimona just came in and is trying to convince Ballister that Ballister needs a sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the line, I can't have some kid following me around all day. And Nimona says, I'm not a kid, I'm a shark. And just the way the shark is drawn, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh, no, I've read this. This is
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Crystal? What were like your initial thoughts when you started?
I really liked that we didn't get a backstory ahead of time, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. I think this is a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a graphic novel trope or sci-fi or both, but kind of starting in the middle of the story and then we slowly learn the backstory. I really love that. And so I liked that we dove in. We don't know who they are. We're not given any incredible explanation. We're uncovering that part of the story too. And that was my first thought, was like, ooh, who's this? And then kind of listening and being like, a shapeshifter, what? Like,
Yeah.
and then like, oh, he doesn't have an arm. And, like, what happened to his arm? And then like we get kind of a little flash. I like that. I like the, as I'm thinking to myself, like, what happened? Now we're kind of learning slowly, bit by bit, and having to piece that together. I really love that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that also helps. I think with like a graphic novel and like visually seeing it in that type
Mhm.
of media, being just thrown into the story instead of getting like a whole backstory first, I think that's also pretty helpful
Mhm.
too. I think Nimona as a character is freaking hilarious and incredible. I love this character. Like when she's being super sarcastic and pretending to be certain people, like as a
Mhm.
shapeshifter, is so funny. I think it was a scene whenever she is pretending to be the director or something
Mhm.
and fools Ballister, and that cracked me up. I actually was literally laughing out loud at that moment. But like Crystal touched on, the story begins where we have this villain, Ballister Blackheart, and Nimona
Can
just
we talk
shows
about the
up.
name? Like,
Oh,
just right
yeah.
off the bat, Ballister Blackheart.
Hmm.
And then as we learn more names throughout, I'm just like, the
And they
names,
just keep getting more ridiculous.
and they're just cracking me up the whole time.
Like Golden Loin.
Golden Loin.
Golden Loin. But Nimona just shows up and is like, I'm going to be your sidekick. And she doesn't want to follow any rules, even though he is supposedly the bad guy. He wants to follow the rules. It's a very, one of Lindsey's favorite grumpy sunshine friendship.
Mhm.
So I knew right away, I was like, oh, this is right up Lindsey's alley. Eventually, we get the true story where he's supposed to be a hero. Something happens and he becomes known as a villain to the public. And Nimona is showing him how this kingdom is trying to use these heroes to control them. She saw something of herself in him, basically. There are a lot of like really great themes in the story about identity and self acceptance. There's nothing that specifically states that this is like an LGBTQ plus like story, but it is very much within like the narrative and the elements of the story, which is really great. It's about like good versus evil, who gets to decide that, about trauma and trust. Any other themes that like you guys like that spoke to you in like the story or anything?
For me, it was being willing to question what you think you know,
Mm-hmm.
right? The difference between just knowing something to be true no matter what, and that's just always the way it is, versus asking questions and trying to understand what something is. There seemed to be a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And I really liked that rigid thinking versus flexible thinking.
Yeah. Absolutely. What about you, Lindsey?
I liked the acceptance and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like looking past appearances and preconceived notions to understand and accept others.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know. I love that these like graphic novels. I know I feel like I say this all the time, but these graphic novels or like things that can be for or towards like a younger audience. Like I'm thinking more towards like the animated film are so deep. They're deep
Mm-hmm.
as hell.
Well, you just
And
really
like
reminded me of the Wild Robot in that way.
yeah,
That it's meant to be light and funny, but it's so deep, you
yeah.
know.
Like the story means so much. Like you can look at it as like at the surface if you wanted to, but there is so much deeper meaning to everything in the story. And like reading it as an adult, it's like it's hurting me. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally hurting me as I'm reading it. But before we get into the movie, what do you guys think of the art style like of the book? Do you like
It's
the art style?
for me, it wasn't what I expected.
Mhm.
Only because the cover of my book is more suggestive of the movie. And so when I opened it up and I was like, wait, that doesn't quite match the front. But other
Mm.
than that, I thought it was really cool. It was really interesting. I like how sometimes more simple styles like this have way more than just beyond the surface when you look, which is why I love graphic novels when I do stop to read them, because if you actually look, not just like quick read the words, turn the page, the story of the pictures is really, really interesting. I think that this was done really, really well.
Mhm. What about you, Lindsay?
I loved it. I thought it really enhanced the comedy a
Mhm.
lot of
Oh,
the times.
yes. And
Oh
the
yeah.
comedy is so good.
Yeah. Like it was just on it. And I keep saying this, but it was literally my humor. Like to a
Mhm.
T. Like my humor is when I like describe this a lot is when you're doing nothing and then doing everything.
Yeah.
So like when you're just like acting like innocent and then all of a sudden like you pop up and like do something crazy. Like that gets me and like will have me in tears laughing
I just
every single time.
love like how sassy Nimona
Yeah.
is. I
Hmm.
love it. I love it.
And like her grumpy friend here,
Mhm.
grumpy villain friend, is just like having to go along with it the whole time.
He's
And
trying so hard to be like rigid, and she is just
yeah,
absolute chaos, and it's
yeah.
hilarious.
I think something I also love about the friendship between them is that develops is that he hates it but also like loves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's something I love so much. But getting into the adaptation, so the adaptation was released in 2023 and then eventually distributed on Netflix. A great voice cast, including Chloe Grace Moretz as Nimona, Riz Ahmed as Ballister Boldheart. They changed from Blackheart to Boldheart, which is interesting, making him a little less villainy. And then Eugene Lee Yang as Golden Loin. What do we think of the animation style of the movie? Like, how did it present the world of Nimona? What about you, Lindsay?
I thought it was super bright. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty. I think it really helped bring it to life, basically. I
Mm-hmm.
liked it.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
I think it leaned really into a lot of fantasy tropes. The animation style leaned harder into that fantasy style animation.
Yeah.
And of course, the opening where they tell us the story, the backstory, which of course I love. But also, the book didn't tell us the backstory. We had to figure it out. So part of me was like, ah, crap, I'm being spoon fed, but I like it. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
very, it was one of those moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it first started, I kind of like was taken back a little bit because I mean, it's probably very interesting to make a movie from a graphic novel and where it's like are you going to stick with like the artwork of
Mm-hmm.
it and how you're going to do that or the same like style, you know? And at first it felt like really young looking, like almost too young, if that makes sense.
It
I don't know if
reminded
that makes
me
sense.
of Sleeping Beauty. Do you guys remember like the Disney
Yeah.
animated
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty? It reminded me very much of that.
Okay. Okay. It was like I don't know, I can't describe it, like, it just felt, like, super young, And then I kind of like got used to it and then really loved it. It was very like geometric. Like that's the I can't like really describe it any other way than feeling like very geometric style, if that makes sense. But I do like this combination of like medieval world and modern sci-fi world, you know? Like I think that's like a really fun combination for like just fantasy in general. Soundtrack, amazing.
Yeah.
Loved it. I love, I love a good soundtrack. That soundtrack was perfection. I think something that they really needed to carry from the graphic novel to the movie was this balance of emotional like tone and humor, kind of. That was like really important. And I think that they did that really well where, I'm 31-year-old adult watching this animated movie and I'm cracking up. Like I'm literally in tears laughing. And then I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm sick to my stomach crying. And I want to talk about some of our favorite scenes from the movies. So, Lindsay, like what are some of like your favorite moments from the movie?
Immediately, Ballister is locked up. The director has him locked up, and Nimona comes to break him out. That whole scene, the whole breakout scene, and then she transforms into the whale and like falls through all the floors, and then all throughout the rest of the movie, they're talking about this whale.
The whale. Todd's like, wait, hurry before the whale gets here.
Loved it. I laughed every time. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. That was great. What about you, Crystal? Is any of the scenes really stuck out to you?
When Ballister goes to meet up with Goldenloin secretly at the Antlered Serpent and to get nachos, and they're like arguing with each other, and the server comes by and like, what do you have? Nachos! And they both yell at him, and they're like, with no olives. Like, it just...
Because he's allergic.
It just... It was so cute. And again, this is one of those moments where like the LGBTQ representation isn't explicit, but it's obvious in the most perfect ways. And that was such a perfect, like, that's a relationship. We all know it in that moment because we've all had those relationships,
Yeah.
It was so perfect. It was so lovely, and it made me laugh.
They bring it out a lot more in the movie than they it's in the novel, and I love that a lot. Like I like that little like romance thing going on in the movie. My favorite scene, I mean, there's like so many really funny scenes. I think the one scene that is kind of in the book, like, but they change it a little bit, when they're in like the market, I guess, and she's turning into a little kid. Oh my god. I was cracking up, and they're trying to kidnap, it was like a squire or something.
Yeah.
They're trying to kidnap him, and it's just so chaotic, so insane. It's just like nonstop, like fun, but then you have emotional impact a lot. Like there is a very particular scene, she's becoming this monster and she's screaming and goes up to the sword screaming and Ballister stops her. I'm sobbing.
I started crying about halfway through when like we're having the flashback of her with the other knight, the original friend.
Is it Glorith? Yeah, Glorith or something.
Glorith. And I started crying then, and I didn't stop until the end. And then at the end, the end, just like my heart just like full on loud sob. This movie is a roller coaster.
Yeah. Like whenever he stops her, it hurt me because that scene's not in the book. We'll talk about some differences in a minute, but that scene in the movie, like just the screaming. Oh my gosh, that just like got me. What about you, Lindsay? Was there like any scenes that like really like emotionally hit you?
It was definitely that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where she's just this monster, like she grew into this thing, you
And
know,
the
going through
screaming
this
of the
city.
monster, if you
Yeah.
notice, like is the monster screaming like a
Mhm.
monster scream, but slowly underneath it, we start hearing a child scream.
Mhm.
And I might cry thinking about it. It was breaking my heart as the child scream starts breaking through the monster scream, because you can hear the difference, and just it was really well done, and it was just so breathtaking.
Yeah, and she thinks back to this quote, which I have, and it's just really stuck with me, where I want to cry.
Right.
I'm trying not to cry. Okay. Saying they grew up thinking they should run a sword through the heart of anything different, and I'm the monster. That like really hit me. That really got me, and like, and she in that moment is like, and I just kind of sometimes just want to let them. And that I have tears in my eyes right now just thinking about it. Try not to cry. But that part just like really got me bad. And I'm just thinking, like, watching this as an adult, having such a different impact, like if a child is watching it, like what is the difference in the impact
Mm-hmm.
between us,
Yeah.
or like a teenager watching it or something like that. And I think that's just so interesting. Or just anyone from different life paths. I think that's just interesting and important to think about. But there are some, book and movie differences, which I figured there would be. I mean, this is our first time doing graphic novel to movie adaptation. So I feel like that might be a common thing, making a lot of changes, possibly. But some really big changes. Ballister's backstory wasn't super clear in the graphic novel, but we get it right away in the adaptation. Changing his name, like I said, from Blackheart to Boldheart, and how, Ballister loses his arm because he has like a mechanical arm. And it's completely different in this medieval, like sci fi world. He's about to be like knighted basically, and a laser comes out of his sword and kills the queen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns in, and he has no idea how that happened or why it happened. And it turns into this huge misunderstanding. And like Golden Loin, like is trying to protect everyone, and like cuts off his arm. But in the graphic novel, Golden Loin is kind of a jerk. He's like
He's a
kind
bit of
of
a,
like,
he's literally a tool.
yeah, he's kind of a tool. He's like the other guy in the movie. Who's that guy, Todd or something?
Yeah, Todd.
God.
They're like, we have to have this tool energy here. But they definitely made Golden Loin way nicer in the movie, because in the graphic novel, he's like kind of a jerk, but it like happens during like a joust or something
Mm-mm.
where he like cuts off his arm. But the whole thing is that the director sabotaged it. But I don't think that I'm going to call him Goldie from now on. Goldie is not likable in the book.
Ambrosius and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's very likable in the book. What do you guys think?
He was dumb.
Yeah, I mean he was kind of giving Gale energy.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything for the resistance, but in this case it was like anything for the institution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
very
yeah.
much easily manipulated by the institution and the people in
Mhm.
power. But he kind of had like a little bit of that golden retriever energy. Like, I want to please my masters. I want to please the institute, And it was very, I don't know, kind of a little dumb. He didn't ask any questions. He just trusted, Whereas Ballister was the exact opposite. He was like, no, I'm going to ask all the questions and I trust no one. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They also create like a class difference between
Mhm.
Goldie and Ballister, where Goldie has a lineage to Glorith,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes like their relationship a little more like dramatic. Like we said before, not a lot of like romantic tension in the book. It's like barely touched on, but there's like a lot in the movie, and I like that a lot. That was really fun. We get a lot more Glorith in the movie. I hope I'm saying that right.
Mhm.
In
According
the
to the audio, it's
Yeah.
Glorith. So,
Yeah, in the movie, there's a lot more of that, like a whole backstory of Glorith and how this person is connected to Nimona. Also, like Glorith being like this whole being that this entire kingdom is, worships. Very important and significant to the story in the movie, like somewhat significant in the book, but it's more like it's this lore that they discover
mhm.
kind of thing. Because they completely remove a character, like a scientist,
They removed
from the
all the
story.
science from the movie.
Yeah, yeah, they honestly
All the
did. Yeah,
science. All of it.
yeah, they
All of it.
definitely did. Nimona, in my opinion, doesn't feel as like heartless as she does in the book. And I say heartless to be like, I don't really think she's heartless, but I can't think of another word to describe it. But like where she's just like, let's kill everything, let's do all these things. I feel like because we get like so much more backstory of Nimona in the
Mhm.
movie, I feel like it feels more like emotional connection to Nimona
Yeah.
versus the book. What do you guys think about? Do you agree or
Yeah, I agree.
I really love the added backstory.
yeah?
That was a
I, f-
something for me.
I feel like the movie took everything from the book and just enhanced it. Like the humor,
Mm-hmm.
the heart, like everything was just enhanced in the movie.
Except the science.
Yeah. They said throw that away. We don't need that.
They went like sci-fi fantasy is the book.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy is the movie, which is still good. I'm sad there wasn't any science, but I'm not saying the movie was bad by any
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. There's like this moment where, Nimona is just going all in. And, there's like, even Ballister was like, are you going to show him? Like, let's show him, let's go all in. And they're just like fighting everyone, doing all this stuff. And like, she is like a full blown like dragon, like going in on everyone in the movie. And then we get a moment where like a little girl, sees her and like points a sword at her, and then it has like a emotional effect on her. And I think that's like the first time we really see something like that happen to her, and that's not in the book. And I really like that that's in the movie. And that's kind of when we start getting more of like her backstory, which I really loved. But her ending, like the whole ending, is completely different. Not the
Yep.
same whatsoever. It has like the same idea.
Yeah, same vibes.
Yeah,
But
same vibe, same overall ideas. But like in the book, there's like this element of like Nimona and her monster being like two different things and them trying to like come back together. I like that. I like that idea, and I kind of wish that was in the movie a little bit.
yeah, I do too.
I thought that was good. Which ending do you think is like more effective? Do you think like the book ending was more effective? The movie ending? What do you think, Lindsay?
So the movie ending is left a little more open than the book ending, like the actual ending, because at the end of the book, you do see Nimona.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the movie, you hear Nimona, but you don't see her.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the end, like, we assume that she like dies basically, and the world thinks that she died, and Ballister kind of thinks she died, and then he kind of gets like a glimpse of her, because she's a shapeshifter, and like nothing can kill this person, I guess.
Yeah,
What do you think, Crystal? Oh, go ahead, Lindsay.
I'm sorry. The immortality was definitely more prevalent in the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a really hard question for me to answer because, like, emotionally, I absolutely sobbed. I absolutely sobbed at the ending of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the book, I teared up. I thought it was very moving. And it left me thinking, but I don't think that it emotionally hit me. I don't know. I think the ending of the movie was more emotionally satisfying, probably, and the end of the book to me was probably more mentally satisfying.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So now we are at our final verdict, which is very hard, in my opinion. Kind of impossible. Book versus movie. Crystal.
Book.
Book, okay. Lindsay.
Science.
Science. They did this with the science.
It's really tough for me because I really like both, and I really want to say both. But if I have to pick one, I think I'm gonna say the movie, but only because it's longer and you got more of the humor within that. So
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm gonna go movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I literally love both so much equally. But if you literally told me I had to pick, I would probably say the movie because, I like the relationship stuff in it. Okay.
That's
I
fair.
can't help.
And I really love the more backstory of Nimona. I
Yeah.
love that. That was so moving, and I wish that were in the book.
Yeah.
But
yeah, totally get that.
But I really wish all of the science hadn't been taken out of the movie.
Yeah. But both are great. Both are really good.
Both
Recommend
are
both.
so good.
Yeah. I would definitely reread and rewatch.
Yeah.
For sure. But let's get into our question of the episode before we go. Let's get to know our hosts a little more on the podcast. Who is your person that you are teaming up with for a little chaotic adventure? Who is your person that is just down for something absolutely ridiculous? Let's start with Lindsay.
I would say my husband, but he's probably more level-headed than I am. So if we're going strictly chaotic, my best friend Zoe is more chaotic, so we would do something dumb together. My husband and I would do something normal.
Yeah.
Not so crazy.
Yeah. Fun but normal.
Right, exactly.
Got it. What about you, Crystal?
My sister Lou. And sorry to my other sisters. They're amazing and wonderful, but Lou doesn't ask questions. If I said, get in, we're going to, I don't know, anything crazy, she'd be like, can we get licorice on the way? Like that, it would just, that's it. Can we stop at Sonic on the way out? She's game for anything. And I think she knows the same about me. She called me the other day and was just like, I need some books. Can you bring them to me? And I was like, I happen to be in your area. Let's go. It's just, no questions asked. She's down.
Yeah, I love that. I would say I have two, well, actually technically three options. My two very close friends, Sierra and Allie, literally, the thing is that I'm not a chaotic adventure person. So if I said I want to go do something crazy, they'd be like, drop everything right now. Drop everything right now. We need to go. Keri wants to leave the house and do something crazy. Okay? So they would be totally down, and they're very they love to travel, so they would just be down for anything. My other option would be my dad. He is, I would say my mom, my sister, but they'd be asking too many questions. What time are we going? Why are we going?
That would be my other sisters. Exactly.
Yeah, we need to, prep some snacks. We need to, where are we eating first? All that stuff. We need 5 to 10 business days to decide. My dad would be like, if I told my dad right now, it was like, I scheduled us a skydiving appointment for this afternoon because if I change my mind, I won't go. He'd be like, all right, let's go. I got the car started, get in the car, and we're going. That's just the type of guy he is. So definitely, he's a ride or die guy for sure. But that's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed the episode or want to join the Nimona discussion, please let us know in the comments where you are listening, or feel free to reach out to us on the socials linked in the description below. Also, if you find yourself with more adaptation ideas you want to see us cover, leave them in our adaptation submission form linked there as well. All recommendations are welcome. And if you thought listening to Nimona sounded interesting, check out our affiliate link with Libro FM. It's the perfect way to support your local bookstore while feeding your listening habit. Thanks for listening, and remember that arm chopping is not a love language. We will see you in the next chapter of Based on a Book. Bye!
Bye!
Bye.